You'll see the next set of videos coming from the following day. After these conspirators have gone back there and got some rest, and now they're preparing to leave to go back to Jacksonville, mission accomplished. And this is when you will see them getting sloppy. You will see Mr. Chance appear on this video. You will see Mr. Davion Murphy appear on the video. And you'll see Mr. Gathright appearing on the video. This is when they first arrive on Saturday. This is the next day. The neighbor next to them is apparently moving in the unit next to them. That has nothing to do with them. Mr. Chance, and you can see over his shoulder right there, that is an Uber driver that has shown up to take Mr. Chance and Miss Andrews and Rashad Murphy back to Jacksonville. They travel back in an Uber. You'll hear testimony from the Uber driver that he picked up 3 people and drove them to Jacksonville, dropping them back at Sean Gathright's residence. There goes Davion Murphy coming from the other side, from the back side. There's Mr. Davion Murphy. There's Mr. Gathright walking out with bags. Mr. Chance. Just before leaving. And Mr. Gathright. Getting the code from Mr. Chance to get back in. Now, you'll see Mr. Gathright go to the side. He'll leave in the Impala by himself. Davion Murphy drives the Chevy Cruze back to Jacksonville. So, all of them go back to Jacksonville except Sean Gathright. Mr. Gathright, again, picked up on a license plate reader. This time, well, this is the other one we looked at earlier where he's coming. But you can see now he's being picked up on the 23rd at 4:13 hours, eastbound I-4. He is going out I-4 to the east. And then you see below that, at 4:25 hours, southbound Florida 595 and C. Fred Jones Parkway in Polk County. He is traveling to his grandmother's house in Auburndale at Opal Avenue, Auburndale. Here's Mr. Gathright. He has parked the Chevy Impala and he's walking inside. You will also see him come out of the garage through another camera. He will start wiping down. This has been accelerated. He's wiping the car down. And he ends up switching cars with his grandmother, leaving the Impala there in Auburndale and taking a Toyota 4Runner. He drives the 4Runner to Orlando and then back to Jacksonville. But first he wipes down the Impala. There's the 4Runner. The Impala is now inside the garage. He says goodbye to his grandmother. Everything's accelerated here, trying to save some time. He travels to Orlando, and again, you see some cell phone mapping occurring down there in the low left corner. I'm going to talk to you again about that in a few minutes. I'm going to go through that with you. But you can see Lake Eola, which is in downtown Orlando, and that first white box in the middle of the screen. Just below that, you see Church Street. He's being picked up. His phone is, he is at Parlay nightclub in Orlando. And he takes this picture of Don Julio and posts it. You'll also see some other images from that evening. He is there with other people. and appears to be celebrating. This would be the night of the actual murder, and then it goes into the early morning hours of the 24th. You can see in that photograph, again, just going back to show Mr. Chance and his girlfriend going out with their bags to the Infinity, which is an Uber driver. This is the Uber. There's the receipt from Uber in the middle. It's $187, a 208-mile ride from Gazebo Pond back to Chipperfield Lane in Jacksonville to Mr. Gathrights' address. Gives the route. Uber driver will tell you he picked up 3 people and dropped them off at the address, which is Mr. Gathrights' house. This is them arriving, again, back at the place that it all started, at Mr. Gathrights' house. Now, that's Miss Andrews by Mr. Chance's BMW. And you see Rashad Murphy in the light-colored jeans, holding the bag in his left hand with a beret or some kind of a cap on, opening the back door, putting a bag in it. You can see the Uber driver moving around on the left side of the vehicle, and on the right-hand side is Mr. Chance. Again, even the ghost, Mr. Murphy, got sloppy here. It was picked up on this video. Mr. Murphy wearing jeans that are consistent with him, what he was wearing 2 days later, when the silver Chevy Cruze was stopped in Gwinnett County, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta, where Mr. Rashad Murphy had fled. Mr. Gathright. Mr. Gathright ends up on that same date, June 26, he's back in Jacksonville. He gets pulled over for a traffic infraction. Officers speak with him. They end up getting him out of his car. They end up searching the 4Runner. And they find, among other items, these items. Now, the Max Tech ammunition, there are 2 boxes full of 9mm Max Tech, which is a brand of 9mm ammunition, suitable for being fired in a 9mm Glock. Max Tech is the same exact type of ammunition that was fired in this murder. There were 31 shell casings found in the crime scene, 9mm shell casings. They were all Max Tech brand shell casings. So that ammunition is found in his car. Incidentally, I mentioned earlier to you that these conspirators modified their weapons. And it wasn't just the Glock handgun that was modified to be fully automatic. When officers first arrived at the crime scene, at the murder scene, and began their investigation, they responded to the north end where the Dodge Charger had come to rest with Mr. Jones' body in it. Mr. Jones was laying across the center console during this attack. He had turned, a bullet grazed through his right arm, it slammed into his chest, it ripped through his heart and ripped through his aorta, which is the largest artery in the human body. As he continued to turn and try to go into the back seat over the center console, 2 other rounds hit him in the lower back. Those would go through his liver. By the time they reached the northern parking lot, Mr. Norris will tell you that Mr. Jones appeared to be dead. Officers who arrive there, after hearing all the 911 calls, they go to where the Charger is, up by the Holiday Inn. And like I told you earlier, the officers follow the massive blood trail left by Mr. Edwards and left by Mr. Norris as they fled into the Holiday Inn. Mr. Norris will tell you they ran because they didn't know where these shooters were. They thought they could still be around, so they ran directly into the nearest building, which was the Holiday Inn. They even got on the elevator, leaving this blood trail. You'll even see where they were grabbing a hold of doors, trying to knock on doors and open doors to get help. You'll see their blood on the door handles. They go up and just get off at the third floor, leaving a blood trail. Officers arrive. They really don't know what they're dealing with at that point. They have all these 911 calls. They find this bullet-riddled Dodge Charger. They see the blood trail. They don't know if that's victims or shooters. Officers go in there. They think they're going to be confronting shooters, or at least they have to act that way. So they go into the hotel. They follow the blood trail. They go up to the third floor where they find Xavier Edwards and Mr. Norris laying on the ground with their wounds, and they start rendering aid. Other officers arrive and begin their investigation. They start getting reports that there is a lot of damage to the south end of the home to suites in that portico. So a uniformed officer goes down there, and he's looking at the damage, and he's seeing all these 9mm shell casings laying there. But what he's not seeing are rifle shell casings. And you saw in those videos, and you will see in this evidence, there was a lot of rifle fire. 2 rifles firing at a high cyclical rate. There's not one rifle shell casing in that scene. And that's because these conspirators modified their weapons. They modified those AR-15 rifles by putting what are called brass catchers on the rifles. That is, it's a mesh type device that has a little metal wire frame, and it fits onto above the ejection port of the rifle, and it catches the shell casings as they're being ejected, so that there's no evidence left. And that's why there were no rifle casings in that scene. I want to talk real quick before I move forward into Mr. Gathrights stop there in Jacksonville about the attack that you've all seen now on video and have described to you. This evidence in this case will clearly show you that this was a collective orchestration of a collective intent, an intent based on malice and hatred. These shooters struck with suddenness and speed and overwhelming firepower. They brought not 2, but 3 shooters, 2 high-powered rifles, and a fully automatic handgun into a concentrated area, easily and rapidly establishing not fire superiority, but fire supremacy over the victim and his friends. Firing with absolute, you saw in that video, the evidence will show impunity, absolute disregard for anyone that may have been in the vicinity that they were firing in. The majority of the fire funneled directly into that Dodge Charger. But make no mistake about it, every single round that was fired that night, every one of them was dripping with the combined hatred and malice of all 4 of these defendants. All 4 of them. You saw how they took advantage of this ambush, and you saw their determination. How when Mr. Edwards attempted to flee, they followed him with their rifles, shooting at that car as it was fleeing up the northbound. They were not going to stop until they were sure he was dead. Firing again without regard for human life. This ambush spot was really a perfect ambush spot. Mr. Jones was sitting, as I talked about earlier, in his car. That caged him in a way in and of itself. To his left was the employee's car. Behind him was the Hyundai, his girlfriend's car. He had nowhere to go because to the right of him were the walls of the hotel. A hotel. And on the other side of the walls of that hotel was concentrated, dense humanity. The hotel was packed. It was full of human beings, of people. Mr. Jones and his friends were turned away. Their room had been given away. The hotel was full of people, parents with their children there to attend orientation at USF, parents with their children and other people here in Tampa, sightseeing. That hotel's located right up the road from Busch Gardens and the Yuengling Brewery. They were here. All of those people in that car, in that hotel, none of that affected these shooters. They shot with impunity and with disregard for anyone in the area. And you'll hear those rifle rounds that were being shot by Mr. Davion Murphy and by Mr. Gathright as they pursued the Charger up the northwest side of the hotel. There are impacts up and down that western side of that hotel, several of which went through windows, several of which coursed through hotel rooms above sleeping guests, sleeping in their beds. You will hear from one guest who will tell you she was there with her husband and her daughter's boyfriend. Her daughter's boyfriend, they were awake and grabbed her, bringing her to the ground to try to protect her. These conspirators had no cause for concern. There was mass confusion caused by the surprise and this firepower. You saw the fleeing cars, the Hyundai and the Altima, crashing into each other and going in different directions. They didn't know what had hit them. Camilla Bentley gets shot in the arm. She flees southbound on McKinley. She goes to Advent, well, she drives a distance away, and then she goes back and picks up Tafa and Aaliyah Albrecht and her friends. And then they go to Advent Health where she's treated. Amani Turner, the victim's girlfriend, they're not from Tampa. They don't know where they are. She just gets out of there and goes south on McKinley. Somehow, she ends up going eastbound on Fowler, away from the hotel, and comes upon a USF Police Department traffic stop. They get out of the car, her and Mr. Howard. They make contact with the police, who can barely understand them because they're so frantic. They get back in their car, and they take off. The police try to follow them, but they are going so fast that it's hard for them to keep up. Miss Turner comes into, again, coming back to the west, the intersection of McKinley and Fowler. Instead of turning left and going south and going in the entrance that the conspirators took and Mr. Jones and them had taken initially, she just goes straight into the landscape. She goes over the curb, over the grass, over the bushes, into the parking lot, and ends up by the Dodge Charger in the north end of the parking lot. A TPD officer responding sees her doing that and follows her, not knowing what her involvement is. Mass confusion, but not confusion to these four conspirators because they simply slip away into the darkness of this confusion. They slip away and go back to their Airbnb where they hole up until they go back to Jacksonville. During this attack, I talked about there being fire supremacy, but I want you all to be assured in this evidence. There was not one round, not a one that went anywhere other than towards Charles Jones and his friends. There wasn't one round, not even one, that was fired back in defense, because there was no defense to this planned attack. As I said earlier, they laid down a solid wall of lead. Without a single round of resistance, the evidence will show. Nothing, zero. And they completely and utterly leveraged surprise, speed, and violence of action. Surprise, speed, and violence of action. They surprised Mr. Jones by their coordinated efforts, completely catching him off guard. He sat in the front seat of his car as helpless as a child, defenseless, completely at their mercy, and they showed none. They then acted with speed to maintain the advantage that they had gained.
There's been an objection. So I'm just getting Mr. Harmon again. This is just opening statement as far as what the state believes the evidence will show. So.
They went to their firing positions rapidly, using speed in this attack, maintaining the advantage that they had gained through the surprise of this ambush. Violence of action. They brought overwhelming firepower. As I said, not one high-powered rifle, but two. Not a single shooter, three shooters, triangulating their fire. One, Davion Murphy, acting as a backup shooter, as a hedge against flight, which worked like a charm in this case because Mr. Edwards drove right in to that vortex of fire. These conspirators were taking no chances. Not this time. Charles Jones would not escape this attack.